So what I've done here is filter for the hands that you VPIP'd. So you just run a filter in Poker Tracker or Holdem Manager, and you can choose the hands that you played. Otherwise, we're going to be analyzing almost 400 hands from this tournament. So we'll look at these hands. I've had a quick look through this morning, and yeah, I guess we should just get into it.
I am ready.
Okay. Good start. Okay, we'll try and whiz through as many as we can as well, so that we, maybe we don't spend as long talking about theory and concepts, and we can just get through as many hands.
And what do you
as
think
possible.
about that? By the way, it was interesting. If you look at my stack size, I got like 12 bigs or something.
Yeah, I think getting an incredible price like this is absolutely fine. Obviously, it sucks a little bit if the big blind raises and you can't continue, but that's not going to happen that often. And yeah, if everyone was short, like this guy had 10 bigs, if that guy had 10 bigs, then there's more of a chance, I think, that this guy raises. But I think it's less likely when the stack's like this. So I think it's absolutely fine. And then you would obviously just get it in if you hit a piece, like let's say you had the flush draw. Yeah. Pocket threes, good shove. What tournament is this then?
110.6 max. This is the same one that we talked about on Sunday. On Sunday I busted in 40 something, and on Monday I went even deeper.
All right. Is it a hyper turbo?
No, regular speed 6 max.
Okay. Is this definitely a shove?
Don't think so. Might be a button shove, or maybe not even button, but probably.
Let's have a quick look.
Let's take a look at it.
Yeah, so it's just falling outside.
Yes.
So now, if you do think that your opponents are calling too tight, then fair enough. But when I flicked through this review, I saw people calling with 8-5 off and stuff. So we can't assume that they're going to be calling tighter here, which you can generally with micro stakes, low stakes players, they would be calling tight in this. So for example, like you look at this range, big blinds tend to fold the bottom of this range a lot more often. But yeah, as I said, like there was some wild play already that I've seen, so I wouldn't assume that. So I probably wouldn't shove a Queen 7 suited. And how many bigs do we have? 11 bigs, yeah. So we don't have too much time because we're going to be going through the blinds soon. But even if we go through the blinds once, we're still going to have like 8 or 9 bigs, which is not too dissimilar to this spot. So I wouldn't be trying to take every spot, every super marginal spot as soon as we got presented with it.
Yeah, got it. I'm a focus on those spots. Like I've been thinking about the marginal spots, and the spots where where the EV is not that high. So I'm a do some work on this definitely.
Yeah, I mean we talked before, didn't we, about the 10% of the value of aces. So like 0.495. I mean, having an edge of 0.495 in this spot is too big. So like, but you can see like these are the definite shoves. Like there's no way you can never shove these hands. But then you could do like half of that value, which is like 0.25 to get rid of these super marginal spots. But even so, like there are still some spots like 10. I don't think I want to fold 10-8 suited. I don't think I want to fold King-8 suited. So maybe you can get rid of like the King-5 suited here, Jack-7 suited, 10-7 suited, 8-6 suited, 6-5 suited in this spot. But the shorter you get, the lower the edge that you really want to pass up on. So like if you had 20 bigs here, you could pass on like a 0.1 or a 0.2 edge. But yeah, the shorter you are, the less you want to pass. Okay, so interesting spot. Guy raises off 12 bigs. What do you want to do here?
Shove. Either like depends on if he was tight before or not, but like probably shove or just flat. If he was aggro or just doing stupid stuff, I'm probably just shoving.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Like
shoving.
if he was tight or whatever, and this feels like a monster every time, it's probably just a flat.
Yeah, yeah. So I think you probably can go either way. But yeah, you do still have fold equity, which is good. And if you get called, you're generally going to be doing okay. Yeah, let me just get it in. I think that's good. I don't think we want to be just calling. We just want to check jam, and yeah, he has aces. I'd keep an eye on this player. Like if he just min raises off 12 bigs, it's always a strong hand. Like try and work that out. But
I tagged him as well for future occasions.
Okay. Okay, so we get to this turn. It's checked through. We're kind of in a tough spot. What do you want to do here?
Probably check and hope that they check back, even though it's not gonna happen so often.
Yeah.
Do you think we can shove or?
I think no, I think it's going to be high variance. Trying to get through two players is like trying to go into a fight with two opponents and hoping that you come out ahead. Like it's easier to take on one opponent. So if you was just one guy, you could shove this turn and expect to fold a lot. And then if you get called, you obviously still have some outs. But against two, I think it's a lot trickier to do that. I think if you had like 10x of spades, you probably could do that. You just have enough equity that you don't mind if you get called.
They checked.
Okay. So then, as played, do you think we can ever shove this river?
I mean, yeah, but it's dangerous. Like, they're gonna have enough ace eyes, that's for sure. Like, at least one of them has it. Like, but like, what's up ace eye? You know, do we beat ace 10? Is there ace jack, ace king, ace queen? All have a pair.
Yeah.
Our line like doesn't really like what do we represent, like 5-6?
Yeah, exactly.
Just made two pair.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we need to try and get too creative or crazy here. So you're right.
It would work.
In that situation, yeah.
In that situation, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, raise. Okay, so interesting flat from this player off 18 bigs. We are starting to see more and more players flat off this stack size. It used to be that whenever they flatted off 20 bigs, it was always nutted. But now we're starting to see, more of the hands that aren't quite good enough to shove, but are too good to fold in this range. So depending on who it is, it could be sort of some suited broadways, some offsuit broadways, some suited aces that aren't quite good enough to shove. And given that you've opened off 20 bigs, like your range is going to be a lot tighter, and therefore they can't just 3-bet jam all the time. Let's say you had 100 bigs and you were opening all the time, then a lot of those hands that I just talked about, like some suited broadways, suited aces, they would just be 3-bet shoves. But given that your stack is shorter, you're going to be playing a tighter range, and they can't shove all of those hands. So what do we want to do on this flop?
Like having the ace of hearts, I think we can c-bet, but the problem with the c-bet is kind of our stack size. Cause like if you c-bet, we kind of commit ourselves a little bit. Like if I c-bet, it's like how much, like 3 to 2.5 big blind, like a smallish c-bet. There's gonna be like 12 big blinds in a pot, and I'm gonna have 12 big blinds left on a turn. So I think we can check as well.
Okay.
And like it's still like c-betting against two opponents is actually like when I go on the flop multi-way, my c-bet ratio drops, and I think that's standard.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's also, I just wanted to highlight something. Not sure. Does this look like the kind of hands you would raise in this spot off 20-ish bigs or 18 bigs?
Yeah, pretty much.
So obviously, I'm just going to look at your equity against this guy. Big blinds equity, big blinds range is obviously super wide. I just want to highlight something. if we can. So like I said, like so he could be slow playing some big hands. He could then have those hands I just talked about. So some Broadway hands or some suited aces that are not quite good enough to shove. I don't know how far down we want to go. And then these suited Broadways. So let's say he does shove King Jack suited, but he flats like some of these hands. Yeah, I think that's probably... Is that fair, do you think?
Queen Jack off, maybe flats as well.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I'm gonna wait that. Let's wait it. And then maybe I'm just trying to think if any of these ace, like obviously the ace king gets 3-bet, ace queen gets 3-bet, ace jack potentially.
Ace 10 off.
Yeah, so maybe we can maybe add those. Okay. So the reason why we're doing this is just to see how our equity fares. This is us at the top against this guy on this particular board. And you can see like you're just slightly ahead, but not by much. So generally when equities are this close together, we would be checking because we're out of position. Given that we now have this player in the pot who could easily have hit this board, then we would definitely want to go ahead and do lots of checking. Now you can change some of this. So you could go, okay, let's have a look at like ace king 4 instead. Okay, and surprisingly, like you would generally think that your opening range, you would be way ahead now on this board. But you can see that he has a lot of ace-x that he flats, those suited aces that don't get jammed pre-flop. And then compared to you just have like a lot of nothing. So a lot of the time in these situations, you're going to be doing lots of checking out of position with your range. Yeah, we can try and find some... Let's see... Okay, so if we get a little bit more of a dry board, you can see that your equity does go up. So you're probably going to be doing some more betting. And then you could just choose some different boards just to have a look at how these equities run out. And I think we're going to see that we are fairly close together on a lot of boards. So generally, we just want to be doing some, quite a lot of checking and go from there. Now, if you have a set or an overpair or top pair or anything here, you can still check and then continue as a check raise or check call. I mean, if you have ace king of hearts here, I think you want to check and allow this guy to bet.
Yeah.
Okay, so he bets fairly small. What do you want to do here?
I mean, we kind of... It still sucks. Like if we call, we kind of hope for a heart or an ace or a king.
Yeah.
Like the price is amazing, but I don't know. Like you gotta keep in mind that he's betting into 2 opponents still.
Yeah. I mean,
so I don't actually think we can flat, or we can, but it's loose.
Yeah, and if we call and lose, we're going to be down to 14 bigs. I mean, it does feel and seem super tight to want to fold here when you have the ace of hearts. If you don't have the ace of hearts or a king of hearts, then you should probably... It's an easier fold, I would say. Especially because he bets into 2 players and it's a short stack. But I think you have to continue here. I think it's fine. I'm just wondering if you can check raise instead, but I don't know what you fold out that you're not miles ahead of anyway. And then you'd have, like, if you make it 5 big blinds here and then he shoves, like, you probably have to call it off because he can have like Jack 10. And you're not doing too badly against the pair with a backdoor flush draw and 2 overs. So we're getting ourselves into a spot where we're putting lots of money in. We have ace high. So I think the call is okay. It'd just be interesting to know what we do on various turn cards. Like, so we're looking for an ace or a king, and obviously if we hit an ace or a king, we're never folding. We hit a heart, we end up calling again, and then let's say we miss, and then we're down to like 9, 8 bigs. So sometimes you can, like I said, I think we should call, but we are suddenly getting into a spot where we could bleed chips, and we end up on the river with 8 bigs and nothing. So again, it kind of seems nitty, but do you think there's an argument ever for just folding here and moving on to the next hand?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I'm extra surprised I called.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Like maybe the price was too small, and that's what I thought exactly. Like an ace, a king, he might still have like some, I don't know, 10 jack and stuff. So I think that's why I called.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of. Like, I think he should be doing a lot of betting in position. So I guess like if we end up folding this hand, like if we're folding ace, let's say ace king of diamonds, then we definitely want to continue when we have a heart. So we are probably folding too much. But I would imagine then that, let's say, into this spot, let's say it was the 10 of hearts here. We check, he bets tiny again. I think we can consider jamming at that point. Because his range looks super weak now. Like, there aren't too many hands now that would want to take this sizing. You might even have to call here as well, by the way. With ace high, like getting this price, he's not really representing anything at all unless he just has the nuts and he's trying to milk you for all it's worth. Yeah, it's super weird spot. Yeah,
the size and like I would understand it on the flop, but on the turn, this is just like what type of hands is he, betting that size of it?
Yeah,
like it's either like he's really trying to milk me, as you said, or he's just like trying to get a cheap showdown with I don't know what, like a fledger or whatever.
Yeah,
who knows? And like his stack size is not optimal either, for doing that type of stuff.
No, it's not. I just did some quick math. So he bets 2 into 13.3. So he needs you to fold 15% of the time, which means that you should continue with that 85% of your range, and this is definitely going to fall within 85% of your range here. So I think in theory, like once you get to this turn and he bets this sizing, you should probably call. Because there is still a chance he has just a hand that you're ahead of, and you have the right equity. I mean, you only need 13%. So you've got 6 outs. So you've already got 6 outs to the ace and the king, which is roughly 12%. If we did like the rule of 2, we can do it a little bit better. So yeah, it comes out like 13%. So we're bang on. If we think that our ace or king is going to be good when we hit, then we should call. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
But still, it just feels like I'm leading chips with ace high, and just like really simplified way of telling it.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay, raise, jam.
Let's push.
It's good. Okay, to be rebuy?
I think so.
Okay. If it is a re-entry or rebuy, whatever, then I wouldn't worry about losing chips on this turn card. I'd be more happy to get it in.
That's a good point.
Okay, next one. Okay. Interesting spot straight off the bat on the second bullet. What do you want to do here?
I'm gonna do my favorite move, close your eyes and do it, Karlen.
Yeah.
Close your eyes and do it.
But generally speaking, that this 3-bet is strong. I know. Because he wants to get it in against a 26 big blind stack. I mean, he can have some bluffs, I guess, here. I don't think you want to fold. I think if this guy has 15 bigs and this guy 3-bets, like the spot becomes even tougher. But yeah, I think you're right that you probably just have to get it in, but expect to see a decent hand here, a chunk of the time. Okay, or we just get it in 3 ways and bink.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get information from this guy's just open raise. But and most players are going to be 3-betting jacks to get it in this spot, so it doesn't really tell us that this guy's just super nit or he's 3-betting too much or anything like that. So we can't really take too much from this hand. But if we look at the situation, it does, like I said, like we're probably too tight if we fold here, but we should expect to get it in against a pretty strong range a decent chunk of the time.
Why am I short again?
Yeah, not sure. Okay. These spots are good. Ace 7 off. Yeah. Okay, so super weird flat this guy's time. I get 3-bet. You're just going to fold. Well, and this guy folds. I mean,
I see that often.
Don't ever do that. Losing 20% of your stack. I mean, that's bonkers. Yeah, opening King Jack. Okay, what are we going to do here?
C-bet.
Yeah, how many ace-x hands do you think he has in his range here? You open 26 bigs, he flats.
Like he might have some, but like from the weaker end of ace-x hands, you know.
Yeah, I mean, some players here are not going to 3-bet jam like ace-9, ace-10.
Some weaker aces that fit to just like flat and take it to the flop. That's for sure.
Yeah. But I think a lot of the time, like, he's just going to have nothing here. Like, if he is 3-betting ace-king, ace-queen, pocket 8s, probably jamming pocket 5s if he's decent, then he doesn't have sets on this board. I mean, he can flat aces, of course he can, pocket aces. But it's just worth thinking it through his range before you decide what to do. So you choose to check back here. Just tell me why you do that.
That's interesting. I don't know. Like I'm normal C-bet and I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think
maybe like I was like we are 5-handed. Maybe I was just like opening, getting called, and then C-betting a lot. So I was trying to balance it out.
Yeah. Let's just. I'm gonna see if I've got something we can look at on this board. I'm just gonna pause the video 1 second. Okay, so what I've done here is gone into Pio and put in our range and our opponent's range, the board, starting pot. I mean, it's 5.4 big blinds, but I've just multiplied everything by 100. And then we've got various sizes, flop, turn, and river. This should mean if we bet 35% on the flop, 55 on the turn, and we'll be all in by the river. So we don't necessarily need this all in. But I guess if we get bet into on the river and then we want to raise, then we might have to do that. And let's have a look at the solution. So he checks and actually forced to check, but I would imagine that he's not going to be doing much donk betting on this board. Let's have a quick look at the equities. So you can see like your equity in position is super high, 62%. You've got a ton of high equity hands here, your ace-x hands and your 8x and then your pairs. His equity is pretty low. Like he obviously has some ace-x hands in his range, but you can see the top of this range that should be 3-bet. Now, we talked about ace, I think it was ace-10 we just talked about a few minutes ago, where we said that maybe he has those, he decides to flat rather than raise. You know, whenever you do anything like this, it's impossible to get it perfect. Yeah. So you're trying to get it as close to the population as you can. Like this might be wide of the mark in the games that you play, but I think it's, you know, if players higher up are just sort of flooding these hands, you can imagine that players here are going to be playing these hands as well. You hope that someone would shove these pairs or 3-bet top of this range for value, but you never know. Okay, so we check, and you can see that it wants us to go ahead and bet pretty much 100% of the time. I didn't run the simulation to like completion, so you can see that this tiny amount of jamming and checking would probably just go close to 0 in the end. So it's pretty much a pure bet for the small sizing. And I've chosen just one sizing to simplify the strategy as well. So we can, you know, like I said, we can still bet 35% on the flop, 55% on the turn, and jam the river potentially. If we, you know, we might be a bit of an overbet. Okay. So yeah, I think we definitely want to go ahead and bet. Let's go back to the hand. Okay, so the ace of clubs on the turn. So if we say that we do bet, he doesn't do a lot of raising, mainly because he doesn't have any sets, and he has some 2 pairs, but he wants to, you know, keep some of those 2 pairs in. So he has ace-5 suited, ace-5 off, ace-8 off, ace-8 suited, and 8-5 suited. But he, you know, we have aces, we have 8s, we have 5s, we have ace-5, we have ace-8. So we match him for most of the 2 pairs, apart from maybe 8-5 suited. But then we have ace-king, ace-queen, ace-jack, ace-10, where he doesn't. So that's probably why he wants to go ahead and call.
Yeah, I think so.
So he doesn't do much donk betting here. And then we can see again, like it wants us to go ahead and bet. But about half the time. Like, so when he calls this bet, his equity now suddenly, you can see they've come closer together. He actually goes ahead. 50 has 50%. Just, it's pretty much the neutral. So whilst we were ahead, this is why it's so profitable to bet here, because you've got such a great equity advantage, and he ends up folding a large chunk of the time, lots of these hands. As soon as he calls, he has hands that connect with this board in some way, and all of the garbage hands just fold, so that's why the equities run closer together on the turn. So when we look at this ace of clubs hand, we're still ahead. It's ace of clubs card even. We're still ahead. But he does lots of checking, and then we decide whether we want to go ahead and bet. And you can see, like, we want to be betting with, our ace X a decent chunk of the time. You can see that actually wants to go ahead and check slow play now with the top like boat, and some ace 5 suited as well, ace 5 off, pocket eights as well. But a lot of the other hands are just go ahead and bet. And if he did bet here, he ends up having to fold a lot of hands. Now, there are some hands in here that you might not see. I expect it. Like, I don't know. You got to tell me. Like, when you bet here, does he continue with, say, King Jack with the backdoor flush draw?
Probably not.
So, like, that makes the C bet even more profitable, but then it makes your turn bets less profitable.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So I would, just be. This is where, like, using the solver, like, sometimes if you assume that he knows what he's doing and he should be calling with these hands with a backdoor flush draw and king high, which can still be good here, then those are the kind of hands that you're trying to fold out on the turn, because a lot of them end up folding now. You can see, like, King Jack of spades, King Jack of hearts just has to go, go into the muck. Okay, but anyway, we did check, and now this line isn't taken very often. It says here 1.44%, but as I said, like, if we ran the solver for a little bit longer, we'd probably find that it was a 0. So this line is never really taken. At this stage, you should check back the King Jack, so that's fine. And on the river, 4 of hearts, he bets, and the solution, we got to call some of the time, but in practice, like, you should never call with king high here. I mean, you are protected a little bit because you do have aces, you have kings, you have all of these ace X hands that you decided to check back for 2 streets, and you've got pocket eights, and you've got pocket fives, and you've got pocket fours. So there's a decent number of hands here, and the EV of calling with any hand that's a mix between calling and folding is going to be close to 0. So you can see, like, the best you can hope for with a King Jack hand here is like 2 chips, and folding is 0. So in a tournament, I would just be looking to avoid those marginal spots for sure. Like, until you come up against somebody who is going to be capable of bluffing here, then just don't worry about it. Like, are we seeing, like, Queen 6 suited or Queen 7 suited, 10-7 suited, Jack 7 off bluffed in these spots? Like, enough of the time. Like, probably just not happening, is it?
Yep.
So the main thing here is definitely starting with a C bet, and because he just folds a lot of the time, and you're going to have a way better idea of how to continue on lots of turns and rivers. Okay, ace 9 off here, swinging a flat, Okay, so on this turn card, just tell me why you choose this sizing.
I have no idea. Like, I don't like the bet, to be honest. Like, what do we achieve by it? And the sizing is kind of like small as well. I have no idea. Like, I'm normally checking. Like, he opened under the gun, but still, like, actually, oh, hold on, the pieces of puzzle are coming together. Like, for protection. Like, we don't wanna make him or give him a free river that he can hit, we might have the best hand now, and this might do the job for him to fall now.
Yeah.
I think so. That's why I went with it.
Okay, yeah, I think with this
Does that make
sizing though,
sense?
it does. I think with this sizing, you're going to get peeled a decent amount of the time, and I
A
think
little bit bigger the sizing, and
yeah,
I
when
think,
when it goes check, there's a high chance now that your hand is good and you want to get lots of value from it. You also have a decent number of bluffs here. I mean, you think of all the straight draws and flush draws that you could possibly have, and because of that, you probably want to bet this turn pretty big. Now you're going to have. I'm trying to think of the better hands that you have here, like pocket twos, pocket threes. I think 8s and 9s are probably you 3-bet pre. You could have 9.
I'm not sure about that. He opened under the gun.
Yeah, but it's 6 max and high. It's like the hijack. I think 8s. I mean, in this lineup, I think I would be getting it in with 8s and 9s, even as you could jam or 3-bet get it in. But okay, let's say we could potentially have 8s here. We want to just get a lot of value, and we have Jack 10 and 6-7 and 10-7 suited, 4-5, Ace 4, Ace 5. Like, we have a lot of bluffs here. So with our value hands, we obviously, if we're going to be bluffing a lot, we want to size up. So we can bet. I would say you could bet 4 big blinds here instead. Okay, so he does fold, but I don't think. I definitely think we should go bigger here. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so this is pretty loose open.
That's
Any ideas why you chose to do this?
This table was tight as hell. I remember this. I think this table was tight as hell. I'm not sure though. Like, this is not a standard open for me. Like, there's still the 2 short stacks. Like, if I open and they shove, it's kind of awkward to go for it, especially against the 10 big blind stack.
Yeah.
Ace 7. It's kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, against him you could probably just fold. But against this guy, you probably have to call off because the price is going to be too good, and he could just be, over it. Yeah. So I think this is probably it's definitely a fold.
To lose open. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, defending. Okay, on this river.
I think check, cause do you think he would play an ace like that? I think he's gonna have a lot of bluffs that he might just go for it with.
Yeah.
Like, if I bet what's calling me like an ace, but still the line doesn't look like he has an ace.
Yeah, he doesn't have too many ace-x hands. We've got to consider now, what happens if we lead, any raises. Do you ever see a bluff in this situation, or are you just always behind a better jack? If you do lead, do you get value enough of the time from a worse hand? I mean, his range looks super weak. The downside of checking, though, is that he can just check back with a hand that he potentially might have called the river with. So I know, like a 6-5 suited or a pocket pair. Like, you can
6s, 7s.
Yeah,
like that,
I mean, if he just chooses to open those hands rather than jam them pre, for sure. Yeah, so I think betting is probably going to be good. If you get raised, it's just a really lousy situation because, what is he bluffing? So, yeah, and he doesn't raise with Jack 7 off. Maybe he raises with Jack 7 suited. Yeah, I think this is good. I think I'd probably just go a little bit bigger. I'm not sure if you want to take this sizing with any other hands. Would you bet this sizing with an ace?
Nope.
I mean, if you do, then that's fine, I think, because he's still forced now to call with, maybe some king highs, maybe some pairs. So just always be thinking about that. What are you trying to target when you're betting there? Okay, raise call. Yeah, it's good. Like it. Okay, so just choosing not to bluff, which I think is probably fine. He's going to have a decent number of ace highs here, I think, and showdown value that you potentially can get to fold. But once he gets to the river and no betting has taken place, like, it's a tough story to tell or sell. Okay, so we have some showdown value now, and now we have trips. Okay, similar spot then. What do you want to do here?
I think I went with a. It's the same opponent, right? I think I went with a small bet again.
Yeah, seems good. He's gonna have again like ace high a lot. Yeah. Okay, nice. I think you could maybe get a little bit more value because you're definitely not going to be betting this sizing as a bluff ever. I would guess, because his range looks like a lot of ace highs, he's going to call a lot of ace highs on the river. You don't want to bluff for this sizing. So I think sizing up a little bit, even just half pot, 2.6 bigs, it's going to get that little bit more value on the river. We shove, looks good. Shoving again, get in there. Okay, so you limp here with 10-9 suited. Just talk me through this.
I don't know why I did that. Well, you can definitely open. Oh, the stack size as well, like 13 bigs.
Yeah.
That's shovable.
Yeah, I think this is just a shove, honestly, yeah.
That's shovable.
Now, if we end up folding this spot, I don't think we can fold. Like, we probably have to call. We don't want to jam because we'd have no fold equity. But I think we have enough equity here to call and see a flop. Even off 13, 14 bigs. So, but yeah, I would have just shoved in the first place to avoid that headache.
It's a shove for sure.
Yeah. Okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah. I think I check back.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make.
The board is just. I don't know.
But he very
There's
rarely.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, there's the flush draw. Queen king just feels weird to see bet, especially with my stack size once again.
Yeah, I mean, he very rarely though has a strong hand. Like, he should be jamming twos pre. He should be 3-betting kings and queens. He should be 3-betting ace king and ace queen, and king queen. I think a decent amount of the time. And this, obviously you have kings, queens, aces, ace king. King jack, king 10. You have a lot of hands here that are strong. So I think you should be considering betting here. I think if we end up checking too much, we on the turn card and he leads, because we basically have this kind of hand, like an ace high hand, like we said this guy had before for checking. It's very tough, if it gets an aggressive player to kind of find a call on the turn in the river with just ace high. So I think we can make life easier for ourselves, especially with a short stack, by betting, and then if he raises, we just fold. So in a sort of no man's land now. It's kind of tough to make the call on the turn. Okay, 10-9 suited, looks good. Okay, what do you want to do here?
Call definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So even off this stack size, a lot of players before would think, okay, well, this looks super strong, but you're just getting an incredible price. And sometimes you're going to see ace king and ace queen here, and if you end up folding 10-9 suited, then that's it's going to be bad. You need to have a plan for post flop though. So if the board comes 10 high or 9 high, you probably just need to get it in, and of course you're going to run into overpairs in that spot. But there's not really much you can do about that.
Damn, why Karlen doesn't bet?
Okay, pocket threes here, 20, almost 21 bigs.
Yeah, we open like 3 exit, 2 point something exit.
Okay, so let's say you raise, he calls. There aren't many good boards for us. What do we do on King, Jack, 8?
It's tough. We see bet and hope that he didn't connect.
Yeah, so I think the highest EV play here is actually just to go ahead and shove.
And shove, yeah. That's what I was thinking about with 20 bigs. You can shove as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you had 24 bigs, you could limp, and then when he raises, you jam. That's another option. I just don't think you can raise here. So I think the limp can be fine. But at this stage now, like this is the dream. I would just jam now. Like you have fold equity and you have a pair, and his range should be pretty wide. So, what do you think?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I fold, right?
You just call, yeah. So you're just going to be like, so now, I think, yeah, I just feel like we can play much more aggressively in these spots. The ranges are wider. We're going to make more chips by jamming here for sure. Now, like by playing passively, we could end up folding the best hand here. So like if he has ace 8, for example, and he bets, we end up folding. Like we folded the best hand. So I think you should just jam pre. So having like looking at this spot and going, okay, this is what we should do with pocket threes, but we can then say, what would we do with what other hands are we going to limp jam here? Are we going to limp like 2s through 7s and limp jam them? Are we going to limp our entire range and then just continue as a jam with our pairs and some ace X? So you can have like ace 5 suited here, limp jam as well. So just thinking, like looking at these situations and thinking through your range rather than just the individual hand like this is going to be really helpful for the future, because the chances of you now it folding to you in the small blind with pocket threes exactly is quite small. But the chance of it folding to you in the small blind with 20 bigs is quite high. And so knowing exactly how to play that spot is really important. So we can just sort of think about more hypotheticals in order, because we're not in our lifetime, we're just not going to see enough hands in order to cover all bases. So we need to change the variables somewhat in this spot. So like if you had 12 big blinds, you know that you would just shove. If you had a different hand, you want to know what to do with it. So like if you had king 10 off, like you would limp here, he raises, you can call, and then you see the flop. But with small pairs, you want to limp jam. With some suited aces, you want to limp jam. Maybe with the offsuit ace, you can limp call. Just being aware of what you would do, I think, is going to really help in this situation.
That's a good point.
Okay, this guy leads. We have a backdoor flush draw, a gut shot, and an overcard.
Shit. And 11 big blinds. I think I fold, but it's sad.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really raise. Well, if we raise, we'd never fold. He's got too much equity. I mean, yeah, it sucks because if he gets it in, it's probably a jack. But I think again we can play aggressively here. Interestingly, like you start the hand with 13 bigs. So, is there ever an argument just to jam? Do you think?
I opened.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, we can definitely jam ace 5 suited.
Okay. Yeah. So I think when he leads, I don't think you ever get to fold. It's just about whether you play this spot more aggressively, and you've got fold equity and you've got hand equity. So if you get called, like I think your ace is going to be good, and I think your 4 is going to be good. And sometimes it runs out heart as well. So I think you could just jam here. I think having this guy behind you is not ideal. But yeah, I think you can play more aggressively. I mean, if you call here and then this guy raises, like you probably then want to give up. Now this guy bets the perfect card for you. It just, I mean, this makes no sense to bet this card. I don't think, unless he has it. So this is a really lousy situation, but I don't think you ever get to fold.
Yeah, he was on a big blind as well, 4, 6.
So he had a gut shot on the flop and just decided to bluff with it. Fair enough.
But like still, I think what do you think about just opening ace 5 with 13 bigs? Like it's much better to shove right straight away.
Yeah, let's run it and have a quick look at the EV, because it might be one of those spots we already talked about being kind of fairly marginal. So 0.17, yeah. So it's kind of marginal to shove here. It's we're not super short, so 13 bigs we can still go through the blinds and have like 11 bigs, so that whether things don't change too much. yeah, you could definitely, want to go ahead and shove the more profitable hands in this range. The ace-5 suited, I mean, it's definitely profitable. It's just about whether or not you think you can play it more profitably by raising. And if it goes flat, 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 I mean, it's going to be tough to do that. If you find that the table is pretty passive and it's going to be flatting a lot, you're going to really struggle to make money by min raising. So you probably just want to go ahead and shove and pick up the 2 big blinds that are out there.
Yep.
Okay, this is an interesting spot. What do you want to do here?
We open.
Okay.
And yeah, big blind it's gonna be interesting to see what big blind does.
Yeah. Yeah, if it jams, what are you going to do?
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm folding. Like, there's no way I'm calling with 5s.
Okay.
He jams.
So, if he's good, then 5...
Special.
Go ahead.
Like, if he was like aggro and stuff, I might think about it, but still, like, we like flip most of the time.
That's true, yeah. But you're still, like, it's still going to be a profitable spot to raise call. Okay, is this too wide?
Not really.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, so he can jam 30% of hands. If we take this range out and we say, okay, we're not going to end up calling 5s, but we call anything better, then we end up folding a lot of the time. And now you can see, like, he can shove any 2 cards in this spot really profitably. So we don't ever want to be in a situation where he can do that. So I think 5s is going to be a raise call in this spot. Yeah, not a great situation here. He bets. Yeah, I mean, you've got better hands to continue. You're going to have some Jack X, you're going to have some spades, you're going to have Queen X, 9X, 10X, 6X before you get to this hand. So I think it's probably fine to fold. And he's on the river, like, you're just hoping he checks and you check, and then you just lose to 7-6. So I think it's fine. Just shove here, it's good. Raising 9s. Okay, what do you want to do here?
Bet. I think you can bet. Like, it's still against 2 opponents, but this board is kind of like... But at the same time, we get raised, it's awkward. I think we can go for C-bet for sure. Like, if we can make at least one of them to fold, they might fold as well. Like, they're gonna have like a lot of hands that just don't connect with this flop. Like, what are we scared of? Like, like the King X upper hand, 7X is probably gonna call, flush draw is gonna call, but they're gonna have a ton of like weak ace highs, like some broadways, and just stuff that doesn't connect with the flop. I think we can, or we have to see that. Do you think we have to see that?
Yeah, I think so. We get value. We can bet for protection.
Like, to check and let
exactly.
See
and again, like, you get led into on the turn. Like, what are you doing? You're just going to call and hope. So I think continuing with the betting lead is important here. So this is good. Bad turn. Like, he can have a king now. He can have a flush. He can have a 7, and he could have like some pairs and some ace highs still. So yeah.
What do you think about the size of my bet on the flop?
Yeah, it's fine, because you'll be able to, like, with your strong hands, you can now bet like 6 bigs on the turn, and then almost, you can jam the river for less than pot. So that's fine. He check, and now he bets. So do you think he's taking this line with hands that you beat?
That's an interesting question. Sometimes, but like, it would make sense for a flush draw to check the turn, don't you think?
For him,
even for even for a King X has to check, since I'm obviously taking the aggressive lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially with the sizing, it just looks like it's not a bluff.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, the kind of bluffs he gets to the river with is going to be some ace highs.
some ace eyes with like the ace of spades or
Yeah.
whatever. You know, like ace seven with the ace of spades or.
Yeah. And in my experience, they just, even if they're bluffing here, they're just not going to turn up with enough bluffs in order for this to be profitable. Like, obviously, if the 3 isn't a spade, you probably have to call, because then he's just repping like a king. But here he can rep trips, a full house, and a flush. I mean, he doesn't have too many full houses. I mean, maybe he flats sevens, but you can expect that to be 3-bet a decent amount of the time. He doesn't have pocket threes, because threes don't call that flop. And he doesn't flat with too many like king sevens, king threes, king fives in the small blind. So he's literally trips and a flush. We don't block the flush. Obviously, we don't have the 9 of spades. So I think this is probably, you should just fold. Honestly, like it's just, you're just going to be shown a flush a lot of the time here.